From the far reaches of the Nick universe, Space Cases, destination home.
But what's the first thing they do if they ever make it there?
I get out of these space stads and catch up on my jet board.
I'd give my pet Sunspot and Nimbus a big wet kiss.
I'd start a rock band. I have the hair for it.
I'd hang out with Catalina. Big time.
I'd probably move someplace else.
Space Cases, one step closer to home. Tonight at 9, 8 Central on SNICK.
Kick it.
Welcome to Splat Attack, a 90s podcast honoring the slime-filled past. I'm your emotional android, Kat.
And I'm your Mercurian from Uranus, Alex. And Kat.
You said Uranus. What's up?
Why are you dismantling the Splat Attack space shuttle?
Because it is broken. It is so broken. Do you remember when it just shot Brett into a black hole during our Space Cases Season 1 review? Anyway, I thought we could take apart the shuttle and use some of the components in our studio transformation here.
Ah, sci-fi transformations. I'm sensing a theme here.
Yes, you are. Plus, we are covering the Space Cases episode Both Sides now today, and I'm sure our guests prefer transportation to the studio that doesn't involve faulty airlock hatches. So I repurposed the shuttle, and I'm using the slime tank as an energy source for our very own, okay, drum roll please, Splat Attack teleport pad. Ooh. And I can use it to get our guests here faster than you can say Zabagaby. Okay, let me get my control here in 3, 2.
It worked. God,
Yes.
Some of the Space Cases cast just teleported into the studio. Let's see, we've got Rahi Azizi and Cary Lawrence and Anik Matern, and it's so good to see you guys again. No, wait. We got another one here. We've got.
Up. There's another one. Okay. Did it do it? Yep.
There we go. We've also got Kristian Ayre is joining us today for the first time. Welcome everybody. This is so cool to see you guys.
Yay!
Hey.
Here.
Hello.
Oh man, this is so fun. If you guys haven't seen our previous Space Cases episodes, we've had one big reunion episode, and then we also had a more one-on-one with Cary when we did our Patreon episode. But now we're back with another our first ever episode review as far as Space Cases goes, like a single episode review, not a season overview. Oh, this is exciting! I'm pumped about this, but I know that because I know this is Kat, because this is Space Cases is her baby, so I'll let her start with the first question.
All right. Well, we haven't had the opportunity to speak with Kristian before, so I just thought we could catch up with him for a minute before we start our episode. So Kristian, do you have any favorite standout memorable experiences just from overall filming the series that you would want to share?
Well, thanks for having me. It's really exciting to be here, reunited with some friends that I haven't seen in far too long. I've got tons of memories. I wish my memory was maybe a little better. But I think just it's such a wonderful time. I think just that weird time at the end of your childhood. Like I was like 17, 18 when this was happening, and then just like becoming an adult. So these experiences were such sort of a wild time in my life and a really memorable time in my life. I think first and foremost, like I think just what Peter, David, and Bill Mumy did, just they really were incredible mentors. I think for people like myself who, hadn't kind of experienced this world of like what it was to be a kid on TV. I don't think you could have hoped for two more sort of generous, caring mentors to kind of take you through that, and just kind of, I mean, science fiction legends. So yeah, I think Peter and Bill, huge props for like, I think when I think about Space Cases, like really at the core, it's Peter and Bill. I don't think I've ever thanked them in this way, but Anik and Cary were incredible proxy parents and really like such incredible role models to me in that time in my life. So I think I'm so lovely to be able to thank you here, 20 some years later, almost 30. Good God. Just really loving, caring, generous, warm people. And I have so many great memories of the two of you. And I think Paige isn't here just yet. I hope she can join us. But I think there was something to it. I mean, I guess I was a kid. I was 17. But to be in a kids show that actually had kids in it, like Rahi and Paige and Jewel were kids at the time. And I think that it brought, an honesty and a vulnerability to the show, but I think it also made it that much more fun to be part of. And so, I think a lot of the experiences around just like getting to be kids with Rahi and Paige and Jewel while filming this show for kids was pretty cool. And not to mention I got to play laser tag, probably more than we should have, but yeah.
So you had a story by credit in season 1 for the episode Forever Young. How did that come about?
I barely remember how this came about. I must have pitched it to Peter some way, somehow. I mean, if I'm being honest, I think I just straight up ripped it off from Star Trek. Like, I think I remembered that germ of like that idea from Star Trek, and I thought that would be cool in Space Cases, if I'm being totally honest. But I remember pitching it to Peter, and Peter being Peter, and just, like I said, just such a generous guy. He said, "Yeah, sure, go ahead and write it." And then I went home and I went, "Oh my God, why did I do that?" And then they kind of were like waiting for me to write this thing, and I didn't have any idea how to write anything. So I remember this was back in the 90s when you had a computer room. It was like a whole room in your house for a computer to be in. And I remember just being in this computer room with like no sense for how to do this thing. And then eventually it just was like, yeah, I've got a few bullet points. I've got maybe like a page here. And they were like, okay, it's cool. We got it from here. And I think, they gave me the story credit, but they gave me like full runway to actually write that script. Credit to Peter and Bill. They were just amazing.
All right. Well, before we get into the episode, because I do feel here's a good point, because Kat had brought something to my attention earlier this week, and I do feel that here is a good spot, considering what Kristian had just shared. I don't find it, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't find it a coincidence that the first time we had a big cast reunion was, one, so that way we could hear about the cast from Space Cases, but we also took that opportunity to help a fellow cast member from Space Cases who was going through a lot physically and needed some help. Thankfully, that person is doing much better, and we're very, very excited about that. But Kat did bring to my attention that Peter David, one of the co-creators, is also not doing well physically, and has a GoFundMe right now. Somebody ordered or created one to help him out while he's going through all this, because there's a lot, and any help that, if you're a big Space Cases fan and you enjoy the series and just want to help out somebody who could use the help, please do. Well, we're going to have the link in the description down below, and Peter David's a good dude. So if you can, please do. But on that note, we're going to transition to a more fun, lighthearted note, because that's what we like to do here. And we're going to get into our episode details, because for this episode, what are we talking about, Kat?
We are talking about the Space Cases Season 2 episode, Both Sides Now. With Season 2, Episode 8. Its air date was November 30th, 1996. written by Peter David and Bill Mumy, and directed by John Fawcett. All right. So the episode begins with the kids in the lounge discussing how much more work Miss Davenport has been giving them lately. But they note that Davenport is pushing herself pretty hard too, and that their teacher has gone as far as to engineer an experiment that allows her to learn information in her sleep. Davenport isn't satisfied with the knowledge in her own head, but the crew realizes that there are some things they wish they could change about themselves too. Miss Davenport overhears the discussion from the corridor, and when she enters the lounge, we see all the knowledge she's gained during her sleep teaching has gone to her head, literally. She releases a surge of mental energy toward the kids, and they all pass out. So she doesn't pass out, that's a first. When the kids regain consciousness, they find their wishes have been granted. Radu is now human, Harlan is Andromedan, Bova is Mercurian, Rosie is Uranian? From Uranus. Susie is an android, and Thelma and Davenport are missing for the moment. Radu immediately takes charge, advising that they all split up to check on Goddard, find Davenport, monitor the engines, and keep an eye out for Thelma. So the crew follows his orders, except Harlan, who questions his authority.
Harlan and Radu worry that the ship's systems may have sustained damage from the power surge, and they find several systems are offline. They fight over who should be in charge, and just as their argument reaches a fever pitch, Thelma enters the room. She is no longer a techno-human emulating machine. She's alive. She sees her transformation as a gift and reminds Radu and Harlan that love and brotherhood are more important than focusing on their differences. She gleefully skips over to the jump tubes and with a whee goes in search of the other crew members to share her joy. The lighthearted mood is broken when an alarm blares in the command post and Harlan covers his ears and collapses in pain. And here we will break for a quick discussion, and Kat has come up with some great questions for you guys. So, Kat, take it away.
All right, so sort of easing into this, how did the different makeup and costuming affect how you portrayed these versions of your characters? Was there, were there certain aspects to the physicality that were more limiting than you anticipated, or was it helpful?
Well, normally I was always on the makeup chair at 5 in the morning. I didn't have to do that anymore, which was really, really nice. And it was really freaky to see the potential of Thelma as a human. So I was like, what are they going to do with the hair and everything? And finally it was a simple ponytail, but it was great. It's great. I had nothing to wear. It was just like
Well, you weren't naked. Come on.
No. I had nothing to wear on my head, girl.
You
had a lot on the head. And I had nothing. It was like, woo, freedom. So it was kind of easy to play her at that point.
I noticed like some color streaks in your hair, though. Did they try to make your hair like Susie's? Was that the idea, or was that all you? Or
that's right. Oh, I wish it was all me. No, I have no talent for that. No, it was really just a couple of hints towards the character of Susie, of course, who took over Thelma's role. So it was really nice to wear that jumpsuit. Just this gray jumpsuit that everybody else was wearing. I could wear one too. It was like, woo! So that's as exciting as it was.
Kristian, do you remember not having to worry about doing all that makeup?
Well, yeah, Kristian and all of you. Like for me, I just was in the makeup chair doing my very extensive eye makeup, 50s eye makeup, because the SNICK Chartier was very particular about my eye makeup. But you guys were in the freaking chair 3 hours before I even set foot on set. So Rahi, what was that like for you? Like I was watching the series, that episode. I was like, oh my God, the guy is like totally in freedom land. But
well, it's funny because my character was supposed to be pessimistic and forlorn, and I think like as sort of like method acting, maybe like putting on the Rosie makeup would have been sort of more conducive toward that, because like the first day I had to put that makeup on, I was so miserable. I was just like, oh my God, because it took so long. And you know, and I was just I did not appreciate sort of how easy my job was relative to, I think, Paige's job, and Kristian, you know, you also had to undergo
Totally, Kristian.
makeup too. Yeah, it was I you know, whereas I just had to put on some antennae, what's the plural? And then that was it. It was just like, you know, 15, 20 minutes. And then, you know, they would just put on regular sort of makeup on me, but no prosthetics or anything like that. So, you know, putting on Paige's makeup was just like, oh my God, you do this like every morning? Because also it affects your call time too. You have to come in earlier. So like my call time, you know, would be later in the day and later in the morning, excuse me. And you know, but for folks who had to put on makeup, they had to come in, you know, maybe what, 5 a.m. And so, and likewise, like during that week we were filming that episode, I had to come in earlier in the morning. And so I was just like, I'm trying to put it on and be like, oh my God, I'm just so miserable. And then you get a scratch, an itch, and you want to scratch yourself and you can't. So I was just like, how am I supposed to play this happy character when I'm just so like miserable right now? So I can really sort of channel Bova, you know, with this makeup, but like I'm supposed to do the opposite. So it was kind of a trip, but yeah, it was just, and I would complain too, you know, I was just sort of like this, like entitled, you know, teenager. I think I was like 13 or so at the time. And I was just like, oh my, do we really have to do this? You know, can we just sort of, you know, do we have to actually physically change ourselves? Can we just embody the other person's like personality or their traits? And so they're like, no, this is like, you know, you're not the executive producer. So no, please just be quiet and, you know, like get on your mark, you know. So yeah, it was a trip, but it was also really fun, you know, sort of playing a different character for that week, so to speak.
Now, going along that, what was it like outside of the makeup? What was it like to actually play a whole different personality that you've not really done on the series so far?
I think that being behind that much makeup, like having that much of a different appearance, it you know, that's some mask. So you are certainly freed up to, you know, be something else, because like you don't even look like yourself in the mirror. It's easy to kind of portray something else immediately when you put that on top of yourself. And so I think it was scary, you know, just to suddenly be without the mask is gone. So now it's just the same audience, but the real me. So that was a scary thing. And then I think as well, and I'm sure everybody felt this because the episode is written like this. You know, it's we're all playing something outside of what we have been playing for, you know, a year and a half, and what the audience, we'd grown to figure out the audience was accustomed to and enjoyed, we think. And then all of a sudden it's like this departure that it felt like a risk, a huge opportunity, but I think a risk as well. And I think all of us experienced that because we were all suddenly, you know, just pivoted about 40 degrees from where we were, you know, where we were used to facing. So yeah, it was a fun week, but a bit of a scary week.
You know, I question the writers at the time, because in the weeks before, we got to a point where, you know, Anik, Kristian, Paige, they were in every morning at 5 o'clock, and they were doing the same thing every morning. I mean, it was like there was a process, but they had to be there way earlier than the rest of us. And I question whether the writers actually saw what you guys were going through, what you were going through. Sorry, just your daily schedule, as opposed to the ones that didn't have that much makeup or to put on. And I question whether Peter David was there at one point going, because I sensed like 2 or 3 weeks prior to this, I felt that there was like I am so over doing the makeup and the freaking ears and the freaking and you guys, like, I mean, I think you guys were really beginning to get just after, you know, mid-season, second season, it's like, oh, I have to do this over again. And I just wonder, if they did a little courtesy call to the fellow actors that really were on set for more than 12 hours a day. Literally.
The overtime checks helped. But...
Yeah, weren't they great? Man, I'm not going to tell you how much I made when I was playing Davenport with a big egghead, but holy Hannah.
Oh, the 15, 16-hour day, it pays out. It pays out. But yeah, you're right. It is, you know, to endure those kinds of schedules, and I think not just the schedules, but I think the discomfort, like.
Oh, for sure. And you were so stoic, eh, Kristian? And
was I thought I complained all the time.
I don't.
Not to be adult.
Seriously, Kristian, I don't remember you ever complaining.
Are you serious?
Okay. No. Yeah. Is that right, Anik? I don't.
I complained. You didn't complain. I complained because I was in that makeup chair at 5 a.m. and sometimes come, I don't know, 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon, because the way I had to portray Thelma was extremely physical. I'd be on ship and I'd have something to say in my text, and I would just like, or I would literally blank, and then I was like, and I'd really get angry. But it was anger. It's just more fatigue.
Yeah.
Anger.
Yeah.
It was like I should be able to remember my lines, but I had a lot of technical stuff to cover, and I always had to make it.
Well, that was your problem, because you chose to do that for Thelma. You decided to go there. You did all that. That was you.
Yeah.
You put that
Uvula dancing. Uvula dancing, Anik.
No, you know, they didn't have DW40 at that time.
No, you created all of that, which is so beautiful. It really was very beautiful.
We did adapt, though. I mean, it took time, and I think, you know, people don't think about the longer term like, I mean, even just in the first season, whatever shoes we were wearing, like, had no support, and I, like, I'm an idiot. Like, I was standing around for weeks going like, my feet are killing me, and I'm tired by like 1 o'clock. I want to sit down constantly, and it just like, well, why don't, maybe you should, I don't know, like, wear insoles, like, and I think just these little shifts. Like, I remember I did a show where we had to bring in I was doing a lot of acrobatic work and I was hurting myself constantly, and we brought in like an expert to come in and try to figure out how me not to get hurt. And he kind of came in and he like looked at it for like 15 minutes and he was like, "Are you wearing padding on your back, like by your spine?" I was like, "No." He's like, "Yeah, you should." It was like, I've been doing this for weeks. So like, I needed an expert to come in and tell me that. But I feel like
that was, yeah, and that was back in the day, eh, Kristian, where there was no computers. We didn't have computers. We didn't have computer technology. So Anik was creating her computer-generated. Oh, somebody's
AI.
Oh,
I know who that is.
I think we got somebody coming through the telepad again there. Kat.
Because of maintenance, did we get her?
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh. I don't know technology very well, you guys.
Well, there you go.
I can't figure stuff out.
It's been a series of the same entrance. It's like...
Oh my gosh.
Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
We were just talking, we just hit our first discussion point, and we were talking about the different costumes, the different makeup job and things like that. And I actually wanted to ask Cary, what was it like being, it reminded me of MTV's The Head animated show, but what was it like? Did you have to change your posture? Did you have to walk a certain way? So was it super top heavy? What was that thing like?
Interesting. The egghead wasn't that heavy, but I did have to hold my head a little bit forward, because if I did this, you wouldn't see it, right? It was like this. So I had to bring my chin down toward my chest so that you could see the top of the head, so you could really fully understand the egghead. But at the time, it was, remind me again, Kat, when this was filmed?
Nice.
This was season 2. I don't know when it was filmed, but it aired November of 1996.
Okay. So it would have been November of 1996. Well, anyway, I was pregnant with my daughter, Paige, whom I named after Paige. And Paige is, Big Paige is my daughter Paige's godmother. And so I was dealing with a very different body, right? Like, not only was I like preparing, playing this big-headed person, but I also had another person in my body, and it really affected me. But I chose to do something really stupid on my behalf. I decided to lower my voice and speak faster, because I thought that Davenport, with all of this input of this information in her brain, should speak faster. Well, that was just a recipe for disaster, right? Because you have to speak faster, talk lower. You're up at 5 o'clock in the morning, putting this damn head on your head. And then you have to go and get makeup done, which was always already an hour thing with my face. So I finally, like Kristian and like Anik, I'm there at 4:30 in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning, pregnant, and having to go through an entire day of filming. So all I can remember is I was so tired, and there's a picture that I gave Kat of me just holding my paraphernalia of stuff. And I chose that particular picture, particularly, Kat, because you can see in my eyes that I'm freaking exhausted. I'm exhausted because it was an entire day, and then it's another hour and a half after, right? You guys don't, you and Anik and Kristian, you don't talk about taking your makeup off afterwards. Yeah. It's not just like, the bogabee, get the stuff off. You gotta take there's the glue and the friggin' stuff and then peeling it off, and oh my God, it was just like, there you
go.
Wow.
There you go. Yeah.
Wow.
So you were pretty though, like that, Cary. Even like that, like
I was pregnant. Anybody's pretty when they're pregnant. But
well, we can't tell that. But
it was tiring. It was tiring. And we know when you ask what it's like to play each other's opposites, I fully understood what it was like, Anik and Radu, Kristian, specifically what it was like for you guys to be up so early in the morning, and of course you too, Paige, getting up. I just called her Paige. Getting up so early and putting on the skull cap, and then putting on all of the freaking makeup. I mean, come on.
So Cary, you think?
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so you think that Peter, David, and or Bill, Mumy might have done what Davenport did, overheard you guys complaining about all this stuff and decided, let's have them see the other side of it for a week? Is that what you're insinuating?
I really did think, because the weeks beforehand, I was just saying, Paige, that the weeks beforehand, I could sense that you guys were getting PO'd with your makeup. Rahi, you had this freaking antenna right between your eyes, right between your eyebrows. Well, as a yoga teacher, I know that this is one of the most sensitive spaces for nerve, for your nerves are very special here. So you started twitching. You started doing that, and you were so upset about it. But it makes sense. Imagine, it's the Chinese water torture, right? Think about it.
Yeah, well, the thing would also get loose, and then I would turn my head and it would start, and so they would have to reapply the adhesive. But with this episode, so I had started, I had like a little peach fuzz on my upper lip, and
What?
yeah, well, like a little mustache coming out, and so, I know, hard to believe. And so they, at the time, it wasn't an issue with, just because I wasn't wearing any sort of unusual makeup. But with this episode, it was an issue in terms of like the pink makeup, and so they actually they asked me to remove it. So they had me remove it with Nair. So I had to apply Nair to my upper lip.
Oh no! And it gave you a red chemical burn to match the makeup.
Yeah.
Is that what happened?
I got my skin broke out, and it was also like I was, I don't know, at that time I was sort of like, when my first shave, there's kind of like a ceremony to it. I feel like I'm done for this. So, but no, I had to, because otherwise it would have looked, I guess, like weird or whatever. So I remember having to remove it, and it was just such a weird sort of, the things I do, for the art. So yeah, there was the makeup actually. I guess you can't really understate what a kind of a component it was in terms of like the show. And I again, to reiterate, there was no sacrifice on my part, because I didn't wear makeup except for that episode. But yeah, you Paige, you Kristian, and Anik, I think it really, for me, that episode was, wow, like, just, it was kind of, which was sort of the theme of the episode. It's funny, but like in real life too, that was sort of like the takeaway for me as an individual. Like, you walk a mile in someone's shoes, just like I acquired an appreciation for sort of the commitment that Kristian and Paige and Anik exhibited in terms of like their characters, and just the hard work that it took to sit in that makeup chair for hours on end.
Walter was stoic about that in this episode. I think he was trying to get under my skin, because I think Walter deliberately would not complain about the makeup because I complained so much. But I he was stoic. He never. I don't think he complained once, at least with an earshot of me, about the makeup. So props to Walter.
Unlike his character, who is the first to complain about wanting to switch back. So did you guys give each other pointers or help coach each other? Like, Anik, I know that you are, in addition to being an actor, you're also an acting coach. Were you coaching at this time? Did you coach on set for this episode? Do you remember?
It's so amazing. Life is amazing. This was my first professional coaching gig, was when Irene Latinsky asked me to do this on set. And I was like, really? Yeah, okay, I would love to, because I had taught before. But coaching was like a whole other thing. And then coaching my quote unquote peers, it was kind of like, okay, let me get into my comfort zone with this. And of course, they were wonderful. Rahi and Paige were just wonderful. So for me, it was more about just giving them a chance to really understand a little deeper what was going on in the text. I was at the beginning of my coaching techniques back then anyway. Today it wouldn't be the same thing. But back then it was just about, really just deciphering what was going on in the story and making them understand a few things, and then having them try stuff and bring it out a bit more. And they were great. They were so great. They were so fun. They were so respectful. They were amazing. And did I coach them on this? I think so. I can't remember. Remember, Thelma doesn't have a good memory. So I don't either.
I think it's interesting, just to add on to that, Anik, you were asking about, you were talking about this particular episode being about identity and about an identity crisis. I think we were very young back then, and especially the students of Star Academy, and I'm not so sure they looked at it as an identity crisis.
No, we didn't.
But very simply, what it would be like to live in somebody else's shoes. which is something that we can talk about today and what's going on in the world, just for a moment, living in somebody else's shoes, and just to understand how privileged or how entitled we are or not.
However, in the episode, we all wanted to go back to what we were.
Yeah.
So the theme wasn't covered at all in that way. It was really about it really was about identity in a sense.
But not a crisis to say, but that's what I'm saying. It's just more like, what's it like to be in somebody else's shoes? Yeah, I want to go back to myself. I love myself better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it easy. You know, walk a mile in somebody else's shoes.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of thing. My favorite character swaps was Bova and Rosie.
Yeah.
Those two, you two, were fantastic in both of those.
I loved it.
Not to say that everybody else wasn't, but those, because they're so polar opposite, was why I enjoyed it so much. And I know that this is probably a very specific question, but Paige, what do you remember what it was like to have to completely swap that personality and be the butt of every joke?
Yeah, I remember first when we found out we were doing it, being so excited to not have to wear the pink makeup. And I actually thought, oh my God, I'm going to be able to have my hair down. I'm going to be like going through hair and makeup like a normal person. And then when they were like, no, you're wearing this like bob like wig, and yeah, I was like, oh, all right, okay. But yeah, I felt very out of my body trying to act or trying to be not happy. Like I was getting so used to wanting to be happy and perky and upbeat about everything, that trying to understand how to say a line kind of, and you know, I was doing it very monotone, and I don't know if that even was really the right way to do it, because you're being pessimist, not being a monotone. And I don't know, I found it actually very difficult to try to understand how to be Bova's character, or you know, to be that. And I certainly welcomed going back to being Rosie, and I would take the makeup and the happiness over having to do what Rahi had to do all the time. That's for sure.
Well, there's one moment, and I still, when I rewatched it for this, I laughed still. It's a simple moment. We're going to get to it in a minute, but you're in the engine room, and Radu is telling you guys to be careful, and Rosie just turns to him and goes, "What is your problem?"
Rosie, be careful. Just watch what you touch there.
What is your problem?
And that makes me laugh every single time, because it's so unlike the Rosie we're used to, but it's not like Eeyore pessimist. It's just like, dude, shut up. Like, you're bothering me. And like, she never expresses that. Like her philosophy is, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. Right. And then she just right out with, what is your problem? And I laughed so hard. Even today, I was like, dang.
But that first scene with Bova being so excited about everybody. Oh, you're a Andromedan. Oh, you're an Earth human. This is exciting.
Wow, Harlan, you're an Andromedan. Radu, you're an Earthman. You guys look great. I mean that. I'm Mercurian, aren't I? Okay, by me.
I mean, the way you pulled all that off, your performance, Rahi, is my favorite of the episode. It was absolute brilliance.
Thank you. The crystal meth helps. You know, we all have our secrets, so let me just come on out.
No, it's the Krista meth. Krista.
What kind of, what were you mining on those planets? What were you growing in the chem lab? What were you growing in the biosphere, guys? Dang.
We're stuck on the ship. I mean, how are you supposed to pass the time by?
Yeah, Thelma was the dealer.
Thank you very much.
Oh gosh.
No, I mean, you know, there's there's more than one way to skin a cat, and so I think it was really cool to sort of have us, you know, try to play these different characters, and you kind of see like what different actors sort of bring to it, and that was just like really novel. And so it was fun. It was fun to do. I think I'm naturally more of sort of a pessimist, so I did prefer to go back to sort of playing one on TV. But yeah, it was fun to sort of, you know, just be upbeat for once and not sort of be the you know, sort of just like the sardonic, just cloud over the head sort of person on the ship. But yeah, thank you. And Anik was a big help. Let me just say that, you know, she was amazing just in terms of working with her, and, you know, you read the lines but there's a whole sort of method to it, and, you know, in terms of like what you can bring and sort of your own individual experience. And Anik was really instrumental in terms of helping me sort of appreciate what the writers were going for, and to sort of just, you know, sort of bring a different sort of perspective to it. So thank you, Anik. You did such a wonderful job in terms of teaching me. You know, everyone was just such a Christian. Cary, you know, Paige as well. Like I learned from just watching her, but particularly like the older castmates. Like I looked up to everyone, and, you know, they were just such mentors on the set. You know, I really can't say that enough. It was just such a joy working with everyone, and just hanging out with them, even, you know, offset. So it goes without saying.
I think we were I think we were very gifted. I think we were I think the casting gifted us something very special. I mean, you know, I think Anik and I can safely say that we've been in a lot of sets where there is not that kind of chemistry that we had on Space Cases. I think it was very special.
Yeah.
I think because of
Totally
because of who you were. I have pictures of us going to Anik's cottage. I have pictures of going to remember going to La Ronde. Remember La Ronde?
Yes.
Remember we went on all those
That
things.
was like a Six Flags. Yeah.
Most actors, most crews of actors, they don't ever do anything like that. We did everything together. We spent time together. We went to the cottage together. You guys came to my house together, and we had dinner at my house many times. I mean, it's a precious time, and I think you know, I hold Space Cases very dear to my heart because of the family that we became. You know, Kristian, I became pregnant, and you were the first to say, "What is up with your tits?"
Oh my God.
Remember that? I had these like weird boobs, and you were like, "Your boobs are weird." And I didn't say to any, I was pregnant, and he was the first to notice there was something up with my body. Kristian, of all people, Kristian.
I was 18. I guess I was working on my filter.
I think
or not, Kristian.
But I'm just saying, you know, that wouldn't have happened on a regular set. And I was on Shelby Woo's set. I was on Are You Afraid of the Dark? That did not exist.
I disagree. I say that on sets all the time. But no, I absolutely agree. I don't think I ever experienced this like that sort of bottled magic thing we had there ever again. I think, you know, it was such a special thing, the way that we got along and bonded and hung out like constantly. Yeah, it was cool, really cool.
It seems like a camaraderie where like life imitating art, you know, found family kind of, and just all gelling, which is really cool.
That's the nice thing about being with kids and working with kids is that kids just want to be, kids want to have fun, kids want to be present. And I think the adults like Cary, like Paul,
barely an adult, just barely.
But we were all kids at heart. So somewhere it was just like easy to be hanging out and talking about stuff or just fooling around. And you know, in between the takes, Walter and I and some of us would start breaking out in song and dance all the time, keeping
Juggling.
the
Remember, Kristian, I taught you how to juggle. I taught you how to juggle.
I still know how to juggle. That's right.
But we also created that. It was a great group atmosphere. Really, it was a good.
But also to be fair, that you guys weren't kids. You were on the crux of becoming adults, and I for sure felt that it was. I just felt like there was a certain responsibility for us as adults to be good role models, but also to be rude, crude, and unattractive, and that you could do that in your life as you move forward in your adulthood. That you could do all of that and be a good person, a good human.
Well, I saw during this episode specifically, Anik, it seems like before you were saying how the role of Thelma allowed your inner clown to come out and play. This one, it seems like you really let your inner child come out and play. I look at your portrayal of human Thelma, and I'm thinking that has to be Anik, like as a child. That
no. Anik as a child was very, very quiet and a bit introverted. And it's what Kristian said earlier. I was terrified to play her like this. It's like, who is Thelma right now as a human? And it's funny, Kat, because you and I have discussed this before, but I had a secret when I played Thelma that I never told anyone about, not even the writers. And my secret was Thelma really wanted to become human. And so there's, and the minute you know this, in some of the episodes when you watch Thelma's reaction to things, my inner dialogue was like, oh, I am becoming human. Oh, and there was always that. But now I was to play this positive, fun-loving, hippie-ish-esque child. And it was like, I hope I can do that. It was so weird. Why was I scared? I don't know. It was just, as Kristian said so well, it was just the unknown. And I think once I got through it, I was like, oh, that wasn't so bad after all. That was fun. But she really did have to play this child, which wasn't even Susie's character when you think about it. Like, but I that's what the writers wrote. So it was like, smoke the good one and do it. And I did, Oh, let's just love each other. Okay, that's my philosophy today. But it wasn't in the early 90s, but it was really interesting. It's really interesting to watch that episode again.
Mm-hmm. You're a joy. You're a joy to watch in that episode.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Kristian, do you remember, was it in the script for you and Walter to laugh after she just goes down the jump tubes? Because that seems to be like, she just broke the tension, and it seemed like a very pure moment where she just goes, wee, and you just break, both of you. It seems like a genuine reaction that they might have just kept in there.
I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
No memory.
But it is a joy to watch. Just you're fighting, she comes in, joy down the slide, whee, and then you just laugh.
We do probably need to get back to the episode, because some of the topics that we've already mentioned will pair with the second discussion. So moving on with the episode.
Susie attempts to shut down the engines, but the Krista continues overriding her commands. She explains the dire situation to Thelma, but the former android is so swept up in the joy of being alive that things like ship maintenance now rank lower on her list of priorities. Rosie and Bova meet Harlan and Radu in the med lab. Commander Goddard is still in the healing chamber, unaffected by the transformation. Rosie gives Harlan a pair of earmuffs, and Radu explains that it takes Andromedans a lot of time and concentration to master screening out everything they hear. The kids are startled when the engines abruptly power up, overriding Susie's commands again, and Davenport explains that her experiment allowed her to download information directly into her mind. The Krista then used her healing and morphing capabilities to help her handle the mental overload and then give the kids what they wished for.
Harlan uses his Andromedan sense of direction to determine that the ship is leading them into Spung territory. He begs for Davenport's help to change him back, and she half-heartedly makes an attempt, ultimately deciding the process poses too much of a risk to Harlan and too much of an inconvenience to her. How dare she? She suggests that he adapt to his new strengths and limitations. Faster than you can say, "Now what?" the power shuts down. Susie reaffirms that the Krista is out of the crew's control. The kids decide that they can dismantle some of the equipment to manually shut down the engines, but Bova and Rosie are the only crew members who can fit into the crawl space to do so. As soon as they make an adjustment to the wiring, the ship traps them inside the small tunnel. Rosie hypothesizes that the Krista no longer recognizes the crew after their transformation, and that the ship sees them as alien invaders that need to be destroyed. And if the Krista decides to go into hyperdrive while they are trapped, they'll be incinerated. Oh no. Radu panics, admitting that he doesn't know what to do, and he steps down as leader and begs Harlan for help, telling him it's not what you are, it's who you are that matters. Harlan uses his martial arts training and Andromedan strength to punch through the barrier, allowing everyone to escape seconds before a wall of flames engulfs the room. Thelma has her own issues communicating with the ship, finding that she no longer has that special connection to the Krista now that she is alive. Overcome with loneliness, she begs the Krista to talk to her. Davenport dismisses the former android's plight and rationalizes that her experiment is a successful learning experience for everyone.
So while Davenport didn't switch with anyone necessarily, she still goes through a pretty significant transformation of her own in this episode. So, Cary, pun fully intended, can you help us explore her headspace during this episode?
Like, I think I've never really thought about Davenport as much as that you have asked me, Kat, what was her motivation? Like, where's she from? What was her family? I never thought about that. I just created a character that was very, for me, very transparent. A woman who's trying to do right and who is completely socially inept. Tries to be a mothering figure, but most of the time fails because she's not a mother herself. Probably comes from a dysfunctional family, all that stuff. But when she becomes this super brainiac, she had all this incredible power, and without, like, I never really thought a lot about how I created the character. I just read the lines and thought, okay, she's gone into this like extra physically morphed person, so her voice has to go lower. She has to talk faster because she's got way too much information and she's got to get it out really quickly. And I said, like I said before, I created this notion of this extra smart Davenport without realizing how difficult it was to execute the character.
You did a great job, Cary.
Oh my God, you cannot imagine the amount of time.
Well done, funny.
Oh no, but you have to understand that I spent that whole weekend before, because we get the script the day, like the Friday before, and then the next week we're like totally into it, and I spent the entire weekend speaking at breakneck speed and practicing the character because I had put myself in that trap. I didn't have to do that. I could have just spoken like Davenport, but no. I had to speak lower and speak faster, and I did that I put that on myself.
And the world is better for it.
It works.
It worked, Cary.
It worked so well.
You know what I noticed when I was watching the video just recently, when I put my head like this to try to get Harlan Band back to normal, I stuck my fingers in so much that I put dents in my head. I was like, I don't think, I don't think that the makeup artist would have appreciated that, because I like literally it was like sponge doink doink doink. I just noticed that today. I was like, I giggled at that. I wondered what they would have thought about that. But
they were really on their game, eh? That episode, like, I mean that.
Can you? Yeah, right.
I was looking at where the seams should be, and many of the different characters, and I thought really had nailed it. Like for that episode, the makeup was really great.
The makeup artistry in that one episode alone, they had to create ears for Harlan, for
everybody had no plans.
Walter.
That's true. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
A whole entire wig. They had to create a whole
Becky
wardrobe for Becky.
Yeah.
And makeup for Becky, and they had to readjust your helmet because she had a tinier head. I actually noticed the makeup was not so good with Becky. And then the same thing with you and Rahi and Paige. Like, you know, that Anik Chartier, like hands, like I bow to her because she did your head, she did my skull cap, she did your skull cap, Rahi, and she did yours for many years, Paige. Like that 1 week alone, they had to recreate, they had to redo everything to suit the ears and the body and the head of the other actors. Like that was a lot of money. They spent a lot of money on that. So that episode, I just will say that.
It's awesome.
Well, it was about $500,000 per episode. That's at that time in those days. That was a lot.
It wasn't. It was $250,000 an episode.
Was that it? I thought it was $500,000.
That's it.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I want some more money then.
Kat, you have we did discuss some of this a bit earlier.
Yeah, we did. Just talking about, in addition to walking a mile in somebody's shoes, sort of the exploration of identity. Like I noticed that, you know, Radu, for example, he's apparently humans are natural leaders, but Radu still is unsure of himself because he's never been in a situation where he's been the leader before. So we get these leader and follower, like there's the dynamic, like the inner turmoil, then the conflict between the crew members who have switched, and then the conflict with Davenport, and then the conflict with the Spung. Like there's so many layers to this. So I guess I was interested, just looking at it now, I'm noticing, okay, well, in addition to walking a mile in somebody's shoes, there's a lot of like the power dynamics change, and the position, like where the crew fits best, changes. Rosie no longer has her excellent bedside manner. She's a downer. So is she the best person to be a medical officer? And I think I even noticed at one point rewatching it with like better quality visually, I think it looks like Paige and Rahi, at one point you go to your usual post and then you switch to take the other person's post. So that's kind of what got me thinking about this. It was like, okay, so their personality shift, their entire power dynamic shift, like that's why the Krista doesn't recognize them as the crew anymore. It's because they're having, they don't know really who they are right now. So I was wondering if we could speak a little more to that, if, I know that's a little deep for the conversation, maybe for a kid's show, but rewatching it, I just feel like there's a lot that we could just mine for story and character development here.
I would watch like I would watch several episodes of the Bozy and Rova show. I like, that was just gold. You guys were amazing. I want to maybe flip this a little bit, maybe as an actor. What I remember most about that week was having people in the crew come up to me at different moments and tell me they were surprised at the scene, like the way I was acting and sort of the taking charge, because they hadn't seen that from me before. And I think I was 18, and I don't know that I had seen that from me before. and there was definitely identity there where it was like, as an 18-year-old, something about sort of like what it is to be a leader and to be assertive, and to have self-doubt, but as well as a queer teenager who was in the closet. And I think there's something about masculinity in that as well. Like it was a weird week for me to kind of try to be this notion of assertive and leader, and maybe a more masculine version of Radu, and maybe that was just the way I was thinking about it at the time. But yeah, I think as a teenager, that was hard things for me to kind of work myself through. I know that wasn't quite to the question of, the crew dynamic, but I remember as an actor that really stood out to me at the time.
That's really interesting to hear you say that. It's so interesting because we don't, we're all living in our own little bubble in a sense, and now all these years later, we're hearing, your perception of things, and it's like, oh wow, it's true. He was 18. Oh my God, it's true. Wow. It's very, very nice to hear you be so open and honest about all that. I think it's great. I mean, as actors, we rarely talk about our challenges because, one, we don't want to focus on that, and two, we don't know our peers are going through the same sort of insecurities at times or questions. So,
and that's not necessarily just an actor's thing. That's just a human thing.
Right. True.
Everyone is in their own bubble. Everyone has got their own demons to face. Everyone has their own challenges, and no one wants to confront them. They want to put on, as Kristian was saying earlier, they want to put on that mask and pretend that everything's okay. And if they can help somebody else, if they're that type of person, if they are a Rosie, then they'll try to help somebody else, but while they mask their own. And then everyone wants to look at everybody else's lives. Very much grass is always greener. And once people are confronted with other people's reality, it changes the way they feel about theirs. But it's a very rare thing, period, for people to be so open and transparent and be okay with admitting their challenges and admitting their faults. And I think that's something that's at the heart of this episode, in my opinion. And I really like that they do that. It's not just you're absolutely right. This can be interpreted in many ways, but I like that it's a be careful what you wish for type thing. It's also a who I am, not what I am, which is the big heart of it, but also admitting not only are other people facing challenges, but I'm facing challenges, and now everyone else is aware of each other's challenges, and that makes you bond together as a group. And I love that dynamic.
I can't do this by myself. You take it over. You're the leader now, not me. I was just an Andromeda, remember? Don't you get it? Being human isn't enough to make you anything. Human, Andromedan, it's not what you are, it's who you are.
Yeah, I mean, the show was very diverse, obviously, both in terms of like the actors, also just the backstory of the show, in terms of the fictional backstory, that essentially, there was a whole sort of like refugee sort of narrative in terms of, I read the Bible for Space Cases, and, both, when the show was being produced and even much later when it became available online, it was just like, this is like a really fascinating story in terms of like how these different sort of characters from these different planets, they came from somewhere else and they came to inhabit these planets. And so, but likewise, like the casting was very diverse. And so this episode in particular, I think, sort of resonated with that theme of diversity, and that, we're playing these diverse characters, but then the actors are diverse. We come from different backgrounds. And then at the same time, we're playing different characters and sort of embodying their diversity for that episode. So, and being compelled to interact with one another and talk to each other in terms of like, learning more about these characters. And so all around, it was really just amazing in terms of just like the exploration and sort of the treatment of diversity in general. But there was like a meta quality to it, just in terms of like the acting as well. sort of because as actors, it's, our respective sort of experiences and backgrounds sort of inform how we approach a particular role. So there was very much of that at play too. So all that's to say is like the show is a testament to diversity, and that episode in particular, even more so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For all the reasons, including Kat, you're mentioning the fact that we had to like sort of occupy different stations. I don't recall too much of that in terms of like the technicalities of, okay, you're like the engineer for this episode, or there may have been something there, but I don't recall receiving a lot of direction in that regard, at least in my character. I think maybe Susie, I seem to recall, sort of playing more of a role with respect to sort of like there was like
she was Thelma, right? She was Thelma. She was trying to, she was part of the ship.
Well, not just in that episode, but I don't know if she was an engineer or something. I seem to recall vaguely, but yeah, even that I think touches on that. So
yeah, that wasn't even something I noticed until like the rewatch just for this recording, honestly, how they just decide who gets to be at what station and have what job.
It looks like the Krista isn't the only one with a power surge. So while Kat finds the fuse box and tries to fix what she broke,
hey,
let's cut to some Splat Attack announcements while we take a quick commercial break. So we'll be back, hopefully with a fully functioning studio.
Stay tuned. The show will be right back.
Thank you all so much for tuning in to this episode of Splat Attack. If you are enjoying this out-of-this-world reunion, please hit the like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Make sure that you subscribe if you haven't already to our YouTube channel. If you are listening on a podcast app, please leave us a review. These very simple actions on your part help people find this out-of-this-world podcast.
I'm a coach, and that's what I do now 100% of my time, and I love it. I've always done it over 35 some years, and now I do this full time, and it's an absolute joy. And all I can say is the years have paid off, because you learn so much how to guide properly, what to look for in the text, how to handle a situation that's challenging, and it's been wonderful. So if anyone wants or needs an acting coach, they can find me on Facebook as acting coach Anik Matern.
If you're enjoying watching this crew get together and have a good time and share stories, you should absolutely go check out our Patreon. We do things like this every month, not necessarily with this group, but with our Gakoids. Go to patreon.com/splatattack, where we have live streams twice a month, exclusive content, early access, and more. So go to patreon.com/splatattack.
I teach yoga. I teach privately. I do in classes. Kat is part of one of my students, my classes. Am I sounding like yogic enough for you?
I'm trying to hold in my laughter because
because that's not how I teach at all. You can message me on Facebook. I think on Instagram is elephantshoes82. There you go.
You may not have the uniforms that Star Academy uses, but you can absolutely pick up a t-shirt with the Krista on it over on our Bonfire page. Go to bonfire.com/store/Splat Store with hyphens in between, because there we have my absolute favorite quote from Space Cases right next to the Krista on a t-shirt, along with a few other t-shirts like Roundhouse, Are You Afraid of the Dark, Double Dare, even Simmer Down with Stickly. So again, go to our Bonfire page, bonfire.com/store/Splat Store with hyphens in between. Earlier at the beginning of the episode, we did talk about Peter David and the things that he is going through physically, as well as the bills that are piling up, having to combat these things that he's going through. So I want to remind all of you, if you have the ability to, please go check out his GoFundMe page, help him out. Help a friend in need.
Tune in next time, Slimesters, when our Gakoids choose the episode, as we talk about the documentaries Happy Happy Joy Joy and The Orange Years. You can find all the retrorific action only here on Splat Attack.
Now, back to the show.
All right, now that we've got power back, let's pick up where we left off. We only have a little bit of the main episode left, and then we've got a fun segment to do with the crew before we dismiss. So, Kat, you want to wrap it up?
Yep. All right. So Thelma and the kids determine that the only way to regain command of the ship is for Miss Davenport to change all of them back to their former selves. Davenport concedes that the Krista might have a better chance of doing so, but then she would need to download all of her knowledge back into the ship, and she refuses to give up her brilliance. Come on. The crew manages to restrain her, and with Susie's help, they download her knowledge back into the Krista, which effectively shrinks Davenport's brain and reverses the transformations. The crew regains control of the ship just in time to avoid enemy missiles and maneuver out of Spung territory.
Hang on!
That evening, the crew settles in the lounge, and Davenport laments the loss of her super brain and the loss of her hair. She apologizes to the crew and they forgive her, ultimately offering that the experience was educational, if a little creepy, according to Bova, and it helped them appreciate who they are and what they have. So at the very end, they determine that what you want isn't always better than what you've got. End of episode.
You can't always get what you want.
Are there any other members of the crew that you would have liked to switch with? And what about that character is appealing? Is there anybody else you would have liked to be, even if they weren't your direct opposites?
Thelma? Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, just Anik made it look so much fun. I would have loved to have done Thelma. She was like
It was fun, Kristen, and it would have been great to be Radu.
I wouldn't have dodged the makeup chair though, but I think it still would have been worth it.
Goddard, partly because of he wasn't wearing makeup, but also a cool character.
Come on, Paige.
No, I don't know. I was I don't know, new in the acting game. I was just in it, kind of, Anik, you mentioned it, like as kids, like in it in the moment for me and that, and I really didn't think much outside of what my role was on the show. So I never even really considered what it would be like to take on the role of somebody different, or act like, I think I would have been terrified if they had said I needed to be Thelma. I had no idea what to do. Like, all I know is to be happy. And so no, I never even considered what it would be like to be somebody else. I felt that being my polar opposite Bova character was a stretch as it was. So I never thought about it.
If you swapped with Goddard, you could have just been in a coma all episode.
I could have just laid there.
Was that they didn't actually put Paul in that big clear thing, right? That was like
no. It was just like a body shell.
Right. Okay. Good.
I hope not, because I was like kicking it.
Well, if you didn't hear him from inside,
very gracious.
Then it was probably not him.
Just because we not really had I think I know the answer to this, but Kat, if you could have swapped places with the character, which obviously would have been any character, who would you have liked to have played?
I don't know. They all seem really fun. I love them all. As a kid, though, I wanted to be more like Catalina, because I knew that she was, even though people were calling her crazy, trying to put her down, she was very self-assured. And I didn't have necessarily the guts at the time, or, okay, here we go, symbolism, or the voice to voice my true authentic self. So I tried to remain under the radar, but she was very proud of who she was, and she wanted to be a leader, and she challenged Harlan even, and I admired that about her. So that's kind of who I wanted to be more like as a kid. As for if I were to play one of the characters now, Anik, you'd have to help coach me to be Thelma. I think that would be a whole lot of fun.
Of course.
Hello, Harlan Band. I am Thelma.
Oh, pretty good.
Nice.
I don't know.
Okay, can you do this?
I'm not that good at.
I used to be so good at it.
I can't do the uvula dancing thing. I can't do.
No.
Cary, that just reminded me out of nowhere. Were you the person who taught me how to do the bike horn? I swear you are. Are you?
The bike horn?
Yeah.
That's Cary.
I have done that for 28 years, and I forgot it was you.
That was me.
Bike horn. I just remembered it just then when Anik was
I can't
doing
do it right now, but yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was
that's
me.
hilarious.
Gotten so much mileage out of that. You won't.
The stuff we did behind the scenes, I tell you.
Fun at parties, let me tell you.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
What a fun time. My gosh, you guys. And just watching you guys, you grew up really. You grew up fast, hey? In 2 years, you grew up really fast.
Before the we here near the end, we've got two things we're gonna run through with you guys real quick. Some people don't like to review the episodes and things they were a part of, which is perfectly fine if you don't want to. If you'd like to, we'd love to get your opinion on it. But we always, the Splat Attack crew always rates the episodes, and our Splat Attack ranking is very much like a report card, A through F, and then we have 3 tiers above an A. Like, it's far exceeded our expectations. So we have an S, a double S, and a triple S. Triple S is the highest praise you can get for the episode. But Kat, what do you rate both sides now?
I'm going to give it a double S flat standing. I really do love this episode. I think that, I mean, we're talking about all of this, how life imitating art and some of the layers and how it's meta, and just there's a lot of story here. I think it doesn't reach triple S for me because I think like I wanted to see more and spend time with each character. I think there was just a lot going on and would have liked to have it maybe focus on like one character dynamic, or if only 2 characters switched and have that be the focus and get really deep there, or maybe have it be a 2-parter so we can see a little bit more of everybody. Because we have like the Spung, we have Davenport versus the kids, we've got the kids versus each other, and then their inner turmoil. And it's just a lot to cover in 22 minutes. And somehow they did a great job of covering what they did in 22 minutes, but I wanted to see a little more. And also the episode didn't feel complete without Commander Goddard. So I can't say it's a perfect episode, but it's really, really up there, darn well near. So double S from me.
And I'm going to echo that sentiment. I'm also going to give it a double S. This far exceeded my expectations because we've seen so many TV shows take this trope of body swap. And we've also seen a lot of walk a mile in each other's shoes and that kind of thing. But this is a whole tier above, a whole class above what most of the other series have done with this type of a trope. And like we said earlier, it can be interpreted in very different ways. But at the heart of it, it's still very much, it's not what you are, it's who you are. And that is a very difficult thing to convey for a children's show. And I love how expertly handled that topic was for all ages. It's chef's kiss for what it has managed to accomplish in conveying a moral to kids who are still learning themselves, and that's a very needed thing. But does anybody else have, I mean, opening up the floor, well, if you would like to give it a rating, what would you like to give it?
A+. Double S, double D, whatever.
Look, she's not pregnant anymore.
Right. But we were talking about boobs before.
What's up with your kid?
We're doing Splat Attack After Dark now. I don't know, man.
I think the last time you asked me about this, I think it's hard for us as actors, especially as we were performing in the show, because I think we all realized as we were doing the show, we realized the story or the importance behind telling the story. I don't think as actors before then, we're just like, we're just telling a story. And it's like, oh, wow, yeah, I really didn't understand what it was like for, you know, for Kristian to be, you know, to go in at 5 o'clock in the morning and do all this makeup. So I think it's hard for us, for me especially, it's hard for me to fully understand the switch and all that entails in the switch. However, because it was the second season and we were all much closer, I think that was, for me, it was one of the episodes where we really got to know each other. Like we really, there was this coming together of a family. And I felt it in that show, especially. That's me.
I share that sentiment, but also I think the sentiment that you expressed, Kat, that Commander Goddard's absence was conspicuous. So for me, yeah, I would have liked for him to have been present as a character. I think he ultimately returned an episode or two later, but otherwise it was a really wonderful episode.
All right. Well, we've got a quick game. We always like to have a fun segment at the end of our episodes. It's something fairly quick and simple. And for this episode, for the first time in season 6, which we're really excited for, we are going to do our Say What segment.
Say what?
Say what?
Say what?
Say what?
Say
what?
Okay, so I wrote the questions, so I obviously can't play. So this is gonna be interesting. Can we have the cast play?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I was gonna have the cast go, and I'm pulling up.
Are you keeping score? Or are you playing?
I'm gonna keep
Okay.
score.
Okay.
So
All right.
the way this works, it's gonna be super simple. It's just picking quotes from this episode, and you all will try to guess who said the quote. So fairly simple.
Okay. For 1 point. That would be an extreme waste of material, and who would have to clean it up? Me. Forget it.
Davenport.
Yep. Point for Anik.
Ding ding.
That would be an extreme waste of material, and who would have to clean it up? Me. Forget it.
Trying to not do them in the voices as I remember them.
I know.
It's hard.
It's so difficult to not do that.
Do them in the voices.
You're also not. It's like not the character that you're playing, but the character that you're playing.
Playing the character playing the character. All right. You probably would have ended up hysterical with a snooty accent.
Bova.
No.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Or is it Rosie?
It's
playing-
Rosie.
Yeah.
It's Rosie.
It was Rosie as
Right.
Bova. Oh.
Yeah.
He probably would have ended up hysterical with a snooty accent.
See, this is trickier than it usually is because of that layer. Okay. Well, there's got to be something we can do. What if we... What? Do I have to come up with a plan for everything?
Oh gosh, that's Harlan.
That was Radu. Is it
Radu.
Radu. Well, yeah, because you were in charge. Duh.
Well, there's got to be something we can do. What if we... Well, what if we what? What, do we have to come up with a plan for everything?
Yeah.
You couldn't make any decisions.
All right. Here we go. Point for Kristian.
Yay.
Wow, Harlan, you're Andromedan, and Radu, you're Earthman, and you guys look great. I mean that.
Oh, that's Bova. That's
Bova.
Bova. Oh, totally Bova.
Wow! Harlan, you're Andromedan! Radu, you're Earthman! You guys look great! I mean that!
Are you okay, Radu? You and Harlan are looking at me not as you usually do.
That's Susie.
Yes.
Right. Thelma.
Yeah.
Are you okay, Radu? You and Harlan are looking at me, not as you usually do.
Yeah, as Thelma, so Becky Herb.
Yeah.
No. All right. Next one.
2 points for Paige. Now they're worth 3 points.
Oh.
Everything's made up and the points don't matter. It's
Oh,
fine.
no, it's still 2 points. This one's still 2 points.
Okay, all right.
All right. Now I feel free to be me, free to love all of you.
Thelma.
Thelma.
But now I feel free. Free to be me. Free to love all of you.
Woo, woo, woo. Let's do a little bit of
The finger puppets. Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
Puppet theater.
Smashing, the dog smashing.
Don't worry about careful. Everything's gonna be fine. You have my personal 100% lifetime guarantee on that. Of course, this might be one of the shortest lifetime guarantees ever.
Oh,
That's Bova.
oh my god.
It's one of my favorite lines in the entire episode.
Don't worry about careful. Everything's gonna be fine. You have my personal 100% lifetime guarantee on that. Of course, this may be one of the shortest lifetime guarantees ever.
And yeah, he's in the capsule at that. They're in the capsule.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he
yeah.
triggers the shield to lock him in. It's like, oh.
That one
The
was
writing was so brilliant.
Yeah.
That question was worth 3 points.
Okay, next one. Oh, terrific. Just where I want to be. Deep in the heart of Spungland.
Harlan.
Harlan, yeah.
Yes.
No.
Oh, terrific. Just where I want to be. Deep in the heart of Spungland.
Anik got that one in.
I ate this episode for breakfast.
All right, well, here's a tricky one. You got to listen to the whole thing, okay? Humans lead, Andromedans navigate. So go navigate already.
Radu.
Oh, that's Radu.
Harlan.
Yes,
He's
it's
saying that to
Radu.
Harlan.
It's Radu.
Oh, you're
He's
right.
saying that to,
Good
he's
job,
saying that
Rahi.
to Harlan.
Yeah.
Humans lead, Andromedans navigate. So go navigate already.
That was
come on,
another
Christian.
unexpected.
You don't
yes,
remember that? You don't remember your lines, Christian?
And I watched it yesterday.
Funny.
Sorry, Thelma, what do you remember, Thelma?
I remember I loved everybody.
Okay, almost done. Okay, this one is a conversation. So person one, person two. Person one. I smell something wonderful. Is that food? Person two. Actually, I believe it's engine lubricant.
So that's Anik, and it's Harlan.
Becky.
Becky, yeah.
Yeah, Anik got it.
Yeah.
Playing Thelma, yeah.
I smell something wonderful. Is that food? Actually, I believe it's engine lubricant.
All right. Next one. In order to make an omelet, you have to break a few eggs. That's what I get for
Davenport.
talking to an egghead.
Oh, Cary, that's cheating. You knew what you were saying.
Well, I watched it today, so I'm on.
Well, the second part to that
Yeah,
is,
who's the
well,
second
that's
part?
what I get
It
for
was
talking
just me,
to an
and then there was,
egghead.
and then the egghead is Anik.
Is that
That's
me?
what you get.
Yeah.
That's what you got.
That's what I get for talking to an egghead.
Egghead. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh.
In order to make an omelet, you have to break a few eggs.
That's what I get for talking to an egghead.
And this last one that somehow got past the censors, I don't know. Where are you planning to stick that? Let it be a surprise.
I love Davenport
That's
and Becky.
Davenport. Where are you?
Oh, that was
wait.
funny.
What,
Who's
how-
the other one?
Say it again, Anik.
Where are you planning to stick that? And the second
Where
person
are
says,
you planning to stick that? I thought
Let
that
it be a
was very,
surprise.
very phallic. And then, yeah.
Now, where are you planning to stick that?
Let it be a surprise.
So all the attachments came out of your middle finger, Thelma.
Yeah. Always. They didn't let me show that, though.
I think you did once. I remember because I caught it. I was like, "Oh, that got past the sensors." Like, you lift your hand up and then you put it in the whatever part of the ship. But yeah, you went like this once and then you just put it in. I was like, "What?"
No.
Okay.
You don't understand. Goddard was off in the corner, and I was just like,
Sexual innuendos in that show every once in a while was like, oh.
Every once in a while.
How old are these kids that are watching? Because they're going to
18.
catch on. Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Well, going with the winner for this one, which may change whenever I go through and watch the episode, so that way I can see everybody's faces and really focus on who said what first. But as of now, I have Anik as our winner with 17 points.
Wow. Good job. She did coach half the lines.
Man, that was fun. This whole episode was fun. Thank you guys, all of you, for taking the time to come
Thank you
out.
for having. Thank you.
So nice to see you guys all again.
All right, all you slimesters, I think we've all body swapped back to our original positions, and we're gonna teleport the Space Cases crew, the crew of the Krista, back to their home very soon. But first, we got to have our closing question. Kat, what is our closing question for the episode?
Which of the Space Cases did you want to be more like, and why? Write to us via email at splatattack2021@gmail.com or DM us on Instagram at Splat Attack Podcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Splat Attack Podcast, and interact with us wherever you find us on social media. All right. So yes, thank you all for joining us today. We always love chatting with you guys. It's been so fun.
And it's always an honor. It is always an honor whenever we get to not just meet somebody new, but whenever we get to talk with you guys again. So thank you, truly, all of you. It means the world.
Yay! You're both so lovely, and we can't have a show without people that enjoy it. So our fans or friends or those that loved the show. You just make it wonderful for us, right, guys? I mean, it's one thing to act and you do your job in front of the camera, but then when you receive a return from people that appreciated it, that it changed their lives in some small way, even if it's just entertainment-wise, that's our job well done.
That's special.
Thank you all for lending bits of yourselves to your characters and allowing for young kids to connect with these characters on a deeper level.
Until next time, Kat, will you help me build the studio, please? Now that we have a Splat Attack telepad, I'm going to see what other guests we can get for future episodes.
Aye, co-captain, but first I need to get our current guests back home, so I'll just... reverse the polarity of the neutron flow and push the big jolly red candy-like button and... Ugh. Well, okay, so the teleporter might be toast, but the upside, studio has a new skylight.
Look, maybe don't over-engineer things next time. Stick to some smaller things, like maybe sprucing up the studio with a nice new coat of paint.
Or I could make jump tubes. Okay, no. Yes.
No,
I gotta go,
Kat,
okay?
Cat,
I gotta get to work, all right? Catch
Cat,
you later. Bye.
Come back here. Put down the hammer. Cat, what are you doing? Cat.
Okay, I got it.
Oh my
Hey,
God,
Kristian.
Kristian!
It took me a while, but I got it.
It's all right. Welcome.
How you doing?
Thank you for coming aboard here. This is great.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Great to be here.
Davenport.
So good to see you, Kristian. How are you?
Good, Rahi. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
It's been way too long. Hey,
I
Cary.
know. It's just
Hi,
a few
bud.
decades.
Good to see you.
Decades indeed.